¿Dónde son? ¿Venezuela?
No, en México.
¿En México?
Sí.
Oh. ¿Te habla inglés?
No.
Okay. So, Terry, you were filming the license plate. What happened?
Yeah, they told me not to film. And you?
No.
Well, no problem. No problem. You?
Está tomando foto a la cámara, pero yo mucho problema.
What's wrong?
¿Por qué me toma foto? ¿Por qué?
Say what?
¿Por qué me toma foto? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué?
Soy reportero.
¿Por qué?
It's America. It's America. It's a free country, guys. It's a free country. We can film in America. So this is interesting. So they don't want you filming their stuff in America. They're here illegally. ¿Habla inglés? No. No. México or Venezuela? Huh?
Ya está grabando, ya está grabando.
Okay, Venezuela or Mexico?
No.
No? Okay. So they're selling drugs out here, doing drugs out here. This is the America. This is the America the Democrats want. There you go. There you go.
I told you.
Hey, all right.
Fuck you.
All right, say it again. Again. That's what they think of you, America. That's what they think of you. F you. That's what they think of you. No? Come on, be proud of it. Oh, we buying drugs? We selling drugs? There you go. You got the buyers and the sellers?
There we go. Just grab something.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is the America Democrats want. It's all illegal. You got now the drug dealers out here. They don't want to be on camera, of course. They don't want their license plate on camera, of course. They flip us off, of course.
Yeah.
It's that's what you're inviting in. You're inviting in the criminal element from third world countries. What do you think is going to happen, guys? It's not going to be good. They're telling American citizens not to film after they invaded our country and they're selling drugs on the streets of America. That's Democrats' America right there. That's Joe Biden's America right there. Yeah. So, Pastor, you're here watching this. These guys over here. What you said they're
throwing gang signs up, man, as if they own.
Hey, okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Behind Enemy Lines with Terry and Paul. So we have a special guest.
You just can't stay away from the drugs, can you?
Yeah, no, I can't. I was like having flashbacks. We have a special guest, Dana Kennedy from the New York Post, who had this awesome story that went viral this week, which is I'm very happy for her. Matter of fact, I've been on podcasts. We've done stuff here, Gateway Pundit, Epoch Times, but thanks to Dana and her work and coming out here, we Chicago, she's really put the spotlight on what's going on here because none of the big media has. So now we're at least able to expose what's going on. We heard about Trent Largo in Aurora, Springfield, Ohio, in New York,
Colorado,
in January. Yeah, Aurora, Colorado. In January, the police officers that were beat up by him. And so now she put us on the map to show what's going on. And the difference is that at least we have, addition to what Dana's showing, right? We have real, true, hardcore evidence because we're being told that we're making this stuff up, right? They're not eating cats, which I find very ironic. Is that when these people are in their homeland country, eating cats is normal. Even in China, they eat cats. So it's a big stretch to think they're eating cats here in the United States. And then
what are they doing in Haiti? I wonder.
Yeah, and then we have they probably eat.
Well, I mean, Haiti's one of the most poor countries in the entire world. So,
and then we have to take a step further, right? The FOIAs I got. Nobody else had these FOIAs, right? So we're making this up. The city of Chicago is a blue, liberal, democratic city, right? So we have FOIA reports from this blue city, so it's not a Republican city, that are showing evidence of human sex trafficking, that are showing evidence of child pornography, drugs, weapons, stolen vehicles. They beat the heck out of their wives. And it's kind of funny is that a lot of these liberal women, especially the Karens in the western suburbs, are big supporters of this immigration crisis, while at the same time, these guys have no respect for their wives, even their children. We have the one FOIA from Catholic Charities that said, Catholic Charities knows about. I'm a Catholic, and I'm not a good Catholic. But I'm very. My mom is a devout Catholic. My kids went to Catholic school.
You're not paying for Venezuelans to come across the border, though, are you?
And the Catholic Charities in their email exchange back and forth between the city of Chicago executives that are driving this, they told them they had to build another shelter to house the women. There's so many of them being beat up, not build one, but find another shelter. So many of the women are being beat up by their husbands. that they had to make accommodations for a shelter. And then we're being lied to by the NGOs, the government, those individuals that work for the city of Chicago that are hiding these guys. They're trying to keep us from filming in public areas. They're trying to hide the truth from us. And then, even Dana, when she'll be on here, she'll talk. Even the Venezuelans are lying to us. She knows how to speak Spanish. The Venezuelans are lying to us. The people running the centers are lying to us.
We also found evidence that, not even evidence, we found proof that a 501c3 called New Life Centers, which is connected to the Obama Foundation, is working in tandem with Catholic Charities and the city of Chicago to house illegal immigrants in apartments and condos and townhouses, all on the Illinois taxpayer dime.
We'll do it later. No, she's only going on for 15 minutes. We'll do it later. Hey, so, let's let Dana in now. Hey, there you are.
Hi there, you guys.
Thank you.
Hi, Dana. Nice to meet you.
This is my partner, Paul. Podcast partner, Paul. And he's an ex-vet, military vet, combat vet from Iraq. He's like the more balanced, rational one of this relationship here. So thank you so much. We're honored to have you on. I'm so glad about your story. It took off. I'm assuming it did better than you thought, or what do you think?
Well, you don't necessarily know what's going to happen when you go on the road and you go somewhere, different. I mean, I'm not from Chicago. I don't really know Chicago at all. I've been there all of my 3 times. I certainly don't know the south side of Chicago. And I was really, and I really have to, thank you so much, Terry, for meeting with us, showing me all of the information, which is unbelievable that you got. I think in the old days, reporters had more time, Terry, to do freedom of information requests and to really dig deep. We don't always have that time now. So it was super helpful to read all the research that you've doggedly done. It's a shortcut for me. I didn't have to spend a week of my own preparing in advance. And I also appreciate you going to some of those shelters with me, because even though the heart of my story was really about what Blacks on the South Side have to say, both the Black gangbangers and the Black residents have to say about this almost $500 million going to migrants when they feel some of it should be going to them. But to go to those shelters with you and to see how we were treated, it's the same in New York, Terry, but it's still odd because whatever side of the aisle you on with politics, there's nothing wrong with going somewhere like that as a citizen or as a journalist and just asking some innocent questions. And they made us feel like the villains, really. Even though I'm not the villain, I even felt that way.
Yeah. It's kind of ironic how they do that, and they threaten, like at other places you weren't at, like arresting us, and we can't film, and it's like standing on a public street. I'm like, I'm not a real reporter like you. I'm like, I know these guys can stand on the street and sidewalk and film, and to tell me I can't. One guy tried to tell me they had the warming buses, in the wintertime. I don't know if you're familiar with that in Chicago. So they had warming buses for the Venezuelans. And I'm filming across the street on a public sidewalk, and this guy comes up from the Metro and tells me, "Oh, you're not allowed to film the buses without permission." I go, "Listen, buddy, I know I can film a bus on the street of Chicago." It's like, it's kind of crazy. So how about instead of us probing you with questions, what would you like to talk about that was maybe intriguing or informative, or it's relevant that people should know about what's in your story, and or what might be compared to some of what's going on with respect to New York, the gangs in Trent Largo there?
Well, as you also know, Terry, the Tren de Aragua and other Venezuelan crime gangs have completely, and just a short amount of time they've been here, which is less than a year, they've got a scary foothold in New York. Really, the day after my story ran, we had a story out of New York that 2 colleagues of mine did, just talking about how there's a big, huge migrant shelter on a place called Randall's Island, and it's become a de facto crime headquarters. But that's sort of off the island of Manhattan. There is an area of Queens, which is known to be kind of a place where a lot of immigrants, legal immigrants, go to, and the gangs like TDA have basically turned that place into a marketplace for all their stolen goods and more criminal headquarters. I mean, that's a shocking story. I think what's a little different, Terry, about Chicago is, first of all, there are more gang members there than anywhere in the country. Chicago has 150,000 gang members, and they are gangs in New York, but it's a little different. That whole expanse of the South Side, and and the people that have their deep roots there, and they have deep roots in poverty as well, whether you're a gangbanger or just a regular resident. And to me, it was really, they really brought the whole issue home in a way that I don't even think it's being brought home in New York, because they're a poor Black community, whether or not they're gang members or they're local residents, like some women that we talked to. And they're saying, wait a minute, this is a ton of money being sent to people that aren't even legal citizens. And what about us? And I think that, as you know, we talked to Tyrone Muhammad of the Ex-Cons for Trump, and he knows all about these gangs. We talked to the Reverend Corey Brooks of New Beginnings Church on O Block, and they already know that the TDA and the other gangs are here. One gang member showed me, Terry, a WhatsApp thread that the Blackstone gang together writes, and they have mentions in there about turf wars with these Venezuelans. And another Corey Rogers, who's sort of a retired gangbanger, said what bothers him is he feels the Venezuelans are very united and that the Blacks on the South Side are not. And he's afraid they'll get more of a foothold there. So to me, it really, in a way, brought the migrant situation and what it means for poor people into much starker relief than it even does in New York. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I think it's an insult to the low income, white, Black, whatever, the people that, are the people living on the streets and the tents and stuff. I went and talked to these people in the tents, and they're living like under bridges and stuff, right? And it's like they said, they're like, these guys are getting hotels, they're getting gym shoes, link cards, everything. And one lady, and I'll send you this stuff too, is she was waiting 3 years on the Chicago Housing Authority, and another guy said 2 years. But these people are being put in hotels in the Magnificent Mile immediately, and it's frustrating. And I'll be honest, I never went and approached, homeless people before until this story came out. And I knew how much resources and things they were sending. So I'm like, I want to talk to these people. I had a guy with no legs. I almost started crying, when he's talking about his story and stuff. And it's like, it's very offensive that they were able to blatantly take our money and use it for these people when we can't even take care of our own people. It's absurd.
There was one woman I spoke to, I think you were there, Terry, at the time, Octavia Mitchell, and she really resonated with me because she lost her son in 2010 to gun violence on the South Side. She lost her nephew, I believe, just last year, and she has an organization called Heal Your Heart for other women, other mothers who've lost their sons. And she said that no one has been responsive to her, anybody in the city of Chicago, when she's reached out for any kind of help. She said, it was really ironic, and I'm not blowing my own horn here. I just took a flight and went there. But she said, you're the only person that's shown any interest in my organization and talked to me. And it's crazy that you come from another city. I think partly as the Post is, it's known as, quote unquote, a more conservative publication. I don't know what the situation is with the media in Chicago, but it doesn't sound like they're down there talking to these people. Again, the average person might think, well, we don't, well, these are criminals, these are gang members. So why should we care what they have to say? But as I said in my video that accompanied my story, when you're there, Terry, you understand why many of these young men choose to go into gangs, because their opportunities are so limited. And for them now to see, and I did talk to the one gang member, Zach, who said he talked to one of these guys with a translator app, and he was finding out how much money he was getting. The link card, the money, the allegedly impounded cars are being given over to these guys. And he was furious about it. And that's where I think the violence can come in. Yeah. I mean, anybody who sees somebody else getting a ton of money that they think should be going to them, that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, well, we found evidence of them getting government cell phones. And then when we FOIA'd about that, we found that there was evidence of human trafficking on a WhatsApp application there. But Dana, I'm curious, by the way, we don't have an equivalent of the New York Post here in Chicago or in Illinois at all. That's why Terry and I are doing what we're doing. But I'm curious because I mean, this issue is so obvious and so blatant and unprecedented, and everybody focuses on how crazy it is, but I would just say it's entirely preventable. So I wonder in whatever reporting you've done, because I know Mayor Adams has even mentioned how it's out of control, and then of course he got his hand slapped. But I'm curious, out of all your reporting or just what you've observed, what could be the possible motivations for this, or have you seen anything? I mean, a lot of people think this is to bring in new voters, replacement theory. What is your theory on it?
That's a great question, and I wish I had a great response. It's funny, just today I was talking to a colleague, and we were both talking about, I mean, today in New York, the big news was Mayor Adams being indicted, right? And his entire administration is imploding. And there are some, I don't know for sure, I don't know, but there are a lot of people who feel that the moment, and you can look for this clip on YouTube, that Mayor Adams, he spoke to this whole group of people, and he basically said that New York City is going to be ruined by this influx of migrants. And there is a big school of thought that thinks that the reason why the feds have gone after him is because of that. Because whatever you want to say about what he has allegedly done, that involve things like taking first-class travel from Turkey and all that, our previous mayor, Bill de Blasio, he put his wife in charge of a sort of social service organization called Thrive. And she had, I think, like $1 billion, of which like 800 million has never been accounted for. Yeah. So you have to wonder, I don't know why there is this influx of migrants. I've heard all those theories as well. And I certainly have heard the theory that they want them to vote Democrat. That makes the most sense to me. But there are times, honestly, where it's all feels very hallucinatory. So much is changing in this country. So much is changing so quickly that even the average reporter can't keep up with it. You're on to the next sort of crazy story.
Yeah, right.
I really wish I had an answer for you, and I don't.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. Number one, I believe that it is for Democratic votes, right? They think they're going to get that, and they're it's the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church is so involved in this, right, with Catholic charities. And like my kids went to Catholic school. I pulled them out after 6th grade because there's less people going to the school. So they're losing, I don't know how it is in New York, but there's less, people in general are less religious. But in Catholic Church, it's like dwindling. They can't even keep churches open. So the Catholics, they help bring them in here. They get paid. They make money to do it. But then they're filling their pews because most South Americans are what? Catholic, right? And then I think some of the exterior, like the United Nations, they want us to collapse. So I think there's multiple answers to that question that are reasons behind this craziness that's going on that they're trying to tell us is not going on.
But the problem is that, and I'm really, at the end of the day, I'm a reporter. I'm not an expert. But, there are people like me doing these stories. There's people like you doing these podcasts. There's all sorts of work and research being done and lights being shined on it. But I don't know if ultimately, and I'm not trying to be pessimistic here, if there's going to be any kind of resolution, because, again, I come from immigrants myself, right? Most of us here do, but they came in a bit of a different way. And I also think it's awful to sort of hate all new immigrants now, which is the road some of us are going to be going down on, right? Which is also kind of a bad mind meld, because we are a country of immigrants. But all of a sudden there are going to be these immigrants that we hate, and I think that's sad. But I'm not sure that anyone's going to be able to close the barn door. I mean, because I think the horses are out there.
The damage is here. And even if Trump wins, he will absolutely secure the border, right? But they're all over the place now. We couldn't even keep track of them coming across the border, right, for the immigration services to track these people. How are we going to send marshals out and start to arrest these people when we couldn't even write them down quick enough, right?
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I mean, however you fall on this side of for Trump or against Trump, the guy's an older guy. He's only, if he even wins, he's going to be there for 4 years. And I hate to tell you this, but there's a limit to what anyone can do in 4 years. Right. There's much bigger forces out there.
Yeah. My to your point, my grandparents came from Italy on my mom's side, and my mom had like 5, 6 brothers and sisters, and not one of them learned Italian because my grandparents wanted them to assimilate to being Americans. and they didn't purposely didn't teach their kids Italian. And actually, she was helping raise it. She tried to teach me Italian. I'm like, I could barely speak English, let alone learn another language.
I mean, we recently did a story with Gateway Pundit where I found a document from the UN about replacement migration, and essentially what it was addressing back in 2000 was something that we're dealing with now, is that the Western nations are not at birth rates for replacement of their population, and that includes us. We're at like 1.7, and you need to be above 2 to replace your current population. And obviously you can imagine the economic concerns there. The only problem that I see is that when you bring in a mass amount of immigrants who have no skills, and can't speak the language, like, I don't know how that's going to boon your economy in time if you're not replacing your existing population. So I think it's short-sighted, but we'll see. I guess.
And what was short-sighted in some cases, not every case, but in a lot of these countries. I mean, Venezuela has, natural resources, like it's a mini Russia. It's very rich resources. And it was really the US that screwed things up there. So we have, whether it's in the Middle East kind of meddling where we have really no business, or any other place, we have also caused Ukraine. A lot of these countries to go sideways, and there's blowback. It's a very complicated issue. It's a very complicated issue.
Another thing people aren't thinking about, right? So we have all these undereducated or not even educated people, right? Migrants coming into our country, and there's only so much workforce to absorb those types of people. And back in the days when our grandparents came here, there was more of a robust need for lower skilled people and manufacturing and all this stuff that's been sent to China. So we have another thing that they're not talking about that's going to affect us, the people that are here now, and then the lower end jobs are going to be filled by them. Artificial and I work in technology, right? AI is going to start taking over so many different functions, right? In business, the low end, the young kids getting out of college, typically we would do is hire them and train them to do some of these easy fundamental type things right now that AI could do. AI is doing basic computer programming. They're doing QA and testing. That stuff's going away from hiring these young kids. We don't need to pay them. And so it's going to create a bigger need, less need for employment, and you're going to have these undereducated people making less money, not paying taxes or paying little taxes, and we're going to collapse on ourselves financially.
I think that's why Trump wants to bring back manufacturing because we're going to need
it. Yeah, but that's never going to happen. I mean, we're not going to all of a sudden pay like $300 for a dress when we can get one for 50. Yeah, that's just not. You're not going to bring the steel mills back and the shoe factories back. That's a pipe dream.
I think that's why he wants to impose that tariff war, because that will bring some of that stuff back
for 4 years.
Yeah.
4 years. That's it. Yeah, 4 years.
Yeah. Another comment you said, talking about the community and African American and how they were raised in poverty and they're in gangs, right? And so, I shared, ex-offender myself, from a long time ago. And I'll be honest, I'm like one of the most luckiest guys in the world. I got my degree at 37. I did, all these things. I worked for big consulting and sales. I lived between a heart surgeon and a international businessman, and I grew up in a 700 square foot house on the South Side. That in itself is a big deal, let alone the baggage I have, right? So I'll be honest, like these guys that get arrested and they're labeled for the rest of their life, even though they paid their debt to society, and it's almost impossible for them to get a job. Almost impossible, right? If I was stuck working at McDonald's or construction or making, if I couldn't get a job, I might have go back to what I was doing, or I was making a lot of money and stuff. I'm being honest, right? I know it's not the thing to say, and these guys are forced in this situation on the South Side, many of who you spoke to, that they don't have a choice, right? So that's why they're stuck in this vicious cycle that they're in.
But I have to say, Chicago has a long history, as you know, even more than I do, of gangs, and going back to Al Capone before even the African-American gangs took root. But I don't really think, even though, as you know, Corey Rogers, who we spoke to, did say he was worried that the African-American gangs were not as united as the Venezuelans. I think that if the Venezuelans really do try to push them, and it does sound like they've been, quote unquote, showing the flag at a project, at the O Block projects, that is really I believe a real powder keg from the people I talk to. They are in no mood for these guys moving in. And again, there's not enough TDA members yet to be a big threat to the Gangster Disciples or Blackstone or any of those gangs, but the tinder is lying there ready to be lit.
Here's my opinion on what's going to happen with that. Is I know Tyrone and those guys and people outside of Chicago. Oh yeah, you're messing with Chicago gangs, right? They're violent. These guys are not connected to the community. The Trent Largo guys, the Venezuelan, they're not at all connected, right? And I'm not trying to say that this is the gangs on the South Side take the moral high ground, right? They're still gangs, right? But they have mothers, fathers, children. They've been here for a long time. So yes, will they get violent? Absolutely. These guys have nothing. They don't care. The gang members sometimes shoot innocent people all the time. These guys don't care at all. They don't give a shit. They really don't. And they're so undereducated, and they're from a different world that is more violent and reckless than what they're going through. And I'm worried that it's not going to be a given that the Chicago guys are going to win.
Yeah, you could be right. And as you know, that I interviewed one Venezuelan migrant, not a criminal, not a gang member, as far as I can tell, and he had to flee the home he was living in, the apartment building he was living in, because gang members had moved in, Venezuelan gang members. He had to flee, and he was so paranoid about talking to me. I told him I would not identify him in any way, and I haven't. But he said, one phone call from these guys will kill my family in Venezuela and the ones I have here. That's it.
Yeah.
There's no, and he really was just talking about even talking. He wasn't talking about getting into a beef on the corner. He was just anything he would have to say, one bullet, the end of his family. So I don't think these people fool around. And again, I think to your point, the gang, the migrants that we're talking about, a lot of them came, the Tren de Agua, they were born in a prison in Venezuela. This is the criminal element. These aren't the good people that are just coming over here hoping for a better life. These are people that were already criminals in Venezuela, and they come here. And I think what they're seeing is like, wait a minute, we're criminals, and they're giving us link cards, and they're giving us housing and hotels in Chicago. Boy, this place must be full of suckers. Let's go at it.
Get out of jail prison card, get out of jail free cards too. They're getting those, right? I mean, it's crazy.
They're getting cars.
I didn't tell you or these guys today. The head of my HOH called me last night at 9:00, and a nice subdivision here. Venezuelan gang members robbed one of my neighbor's house down the block from us, right down the block from us. She called me last night because she knows what I'm doing. She's like, I got to tell you what happened. I'm like, oh, they got in the house. They were there for a long time in the daytime. Oh, another thing I want to mention, since we got a little silence there, that's unusual. Usually Paul jumps in right there when so I'm getting a lot of fun. I'm getting a lot of fun made out of me with your story. When you said the white guy. Oh my God, the left. So I'll send you some screenshots. They got like two African American guys. I don't know what movie it's from, and this nasty sofa and a hillbilly white guy sitting between them. That's supposed to be me. The white guy. They cut the story about the white guy in there, and they're like kind of making fun of the white guy in the story. I think it's funny, but it still kind of.
Well, I think you were the only white guy in this story, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, they picked up on it and they're making fun. It's so odd.
Well, I saw you a little bit as kind of everyman. I saw you as I mean, you're an activist and you're, doing all this work because of what you believe in. But there are probably a lot of people that were interested to know that you'd done all this research and you'd made these requests.
Yeah, I'm not complaining. Yeah. No, and what's funny too is the people that are standing out the most and speaking out the most and confronting them are the ex-offenders. I would say guys that had a different lifestyle. It really is, right? Of confronting fear or and now standing up for something they believe that's, at least in my view, I'm making amends for what I did back in the days, right? And I'm using I just do it, right? And I know Tyrone and those guys will do the same thing when rubber hits the road. They will do the same thing, but the other people, they won't do it. They won't do it, and unless people wake up and understand they got to get involved and fight for our children, our grandchildren, our country, for what we represented before, we're in trouble, big trouble.
Yep.
So do you have any closing statements? We appreciate to have your time. I know you got a million gazillion things going on.
Well, no, I just have to make dinner. Well, no, I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate the help you gave me when I was there, Terry. Please keep in touch. Let me know what's going on. I think it was really educational for me and our photographer, Matt
Oh
McDermott.
yeah,
And I
he's a
think
good
it
guy.
kind of, I think it really sort of, is going to inform the future of my reporting, going forward. Because I said Chicago is a little built differently than New York. And, not I think what we did and what I wanted to do, and I'm happy we did it, was to really go out on the streets. Because a lot of times you don't have much time as a reporter these days to do much but just make phone calls and, maybe get reports and things like that. But I really think it was very interesting to actually talk to the people that you don't hear from almost ever, the truly disenfranchised and the criminals, but they've got something to say and they're not all static. Some of them are trying to better themselves, and the women, the mothers with the dead sons, they've got something to say. And, I think especially where I come from, people feel as if, well, quote unquote, minorities and people who are quote unquote marginalized and oppressed are going to be all Democrats and like the Democrats, but the people I talked to were not going along with that. And it sounds like it's maybe something different and a shift.
Yeah.
And I think it's, for that reason too, worth reporting on. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, well,
Dana.
one important thing. Sorry, you speak Spanish. You remember at both locations, especially the inner Chicago, the guys with tattoos everywhere are saying, "Oh, their families." I'm listening to you. I don't speak a lick of Spanish, but oh, there's no crime. The other at Standard Club, the same thing. The people inside, the same thing. Isn't it fun, ironic that they just blatantly lie to us?
Blatantly lied. They said at the shelters to me, there's been no crime here. And when I talked to what we think were some of the TDA members near the shelters, they were they were pretty cocky. I mean, I talked to people in gritty areas a lot in New York and other places. They were very cocky. And again, I can't read their mind. I don't know. And I'm only speculating. But like I said, if you are from a criminal element in another country and you're able to come here relatively easily, and then you're given money and housing and EBT cards, it's I would not be surprised that you would be feeling kind of cocky.
Yeah. So you mentioned the tide shifting. I'm curious, what's it like in New York, Dana? Because we feel like it's shifting over here, but there's so much corruption in Illinois politics. It's hard to be positive. But I've seen a lot of evidence that there's frustrations in New York. What's it like on the ground out there?
Another good question. The world that I inhabit is very blue and very liberal. And I think there is also in the world I inhabit, you could be maybe a secret red state or a secret Trumper. You're not going to tell anybody in this particular world. I don't know what the gangbangers out in Brooklyn and Brownsville and the Bronx would tell me. The African American, the ones that I don't know what they would tell me, and I might go ask them.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks,
and
Dana, for joining.
Good luck with your
Thanks
future
for having me, you guys.
reporting. And I got a whole new set of FOIAs coming in soon. I'll share those with you.
I'm sure you'll be in touch, Terry. Thanks again. It was
bye.
great to meet both
Take
of you
care.
on
Thank
this thing. Bye.
Thanks. All right, Paul, I know you're Jones and I spoke so much. Go ahead.
No,
Just
no.
let it go. Let it go.
No. Hey, I wasn't featured in the New York Post. Puff your chest there, Peacock.
I'm the
Peacock around a little bit.
I'm the token white guy. I don't know what to say was featured.
Yeah, well, I don't see, not to throw too much, on you, but I don't see any of the Republicans in Illinois pointing this stuff out, and even speaking about it. Even speaking about it.
Why aren't they like this? Should be megaphone.
One of the things that we when we criticized our own local party because they wouldn't censure, which censure is just fancy way of saying slap on the wrist for being a bad boy or girl as a politician. They wouldn't even censure supposed Republicans who are donating to Kim Fox. Again, Kim Fox, one of the most radical Soros-funded prosecutors in the country, who defended Jesse Smollett, who's
Jesse Smollett,
who's the chief crime prosecutor and one of the chief crime prosecutors in the country. And we had Republicans donating to her. And all we wanted to do was censure her. And, we get yelled at saying we don't criticize Republicans. Like, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. But these are Republicans. So,
Yeah.
And then they would tell us that it's not their job to speak up, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's all nonsense. There's nobody speaking about anything. We got Senate minority leaders voting for Communist Amendment 1, which, gives constitutional rights to public unions in Illinois. It might as well be part of the government now.
He wants to. I forgot the commercial. Jay, can you? Are you ready, or should we need to keep talking? You got a commercial ready?
I got
Some pillows.
pillows or dinner.
Whatever you want, buddy.
Yeah.
My pillows.
There he is, our buddy.
All right, guys,
Our
you got to
buddy.
start buying some effing pillows for us. All right. Buy socks, pillows, slippers, sheets.
I mean, my
Something.
two pillows. I think I'll take them to the grave. I've had them for like 6 years now, and I can't live without them at this point.
MyPillow.com, Bell 1776. Buy a goddamn pillow, for Christ's sake. It'll pay
I hear
for
they got good
it'll pay for our
slippers.
drinks.
Egyptian cotton, Terry.
Yeah, right
Egyptian
from Egypt.
cotton. Yeah.
It's not American cotton. No, that's
All
not
right.
good.
Well,
It's
what do you?
Oh,
what,
yeah.
can you-
Oh,
what do you mean by that, Terry? Can you
No,
expound on that
no.
a little bit and just tell us
So-
what you're thinking there?
This, I want to share a little bit about this. I think you guys saw this, right? This here, so this picture was taken with when I was with Dana, and we left the Standard Club, and then there are 6 police officers riding their little bicycles, and I stopped the front cop, the boss, and explained who Dana was and what's going on and stuff. So she's talking to him, so I'm standing there. Whoop, I'm not done, man. Go back, bro.
Shoot. I didn't mean
And-
to do that.
and
It's
so-
going nuts.
Damn
man,
thing has a mind of its
I
own.
think our producer did a blast. He can't sit still. So these guys, there was like 5 or 6 Venezuelans that are in the corner. So I'm standing there, Mr. ADD. I'm like, oh man, I go, that guy's got a bull's hat on.
These two guys look like
that's Trendelargua.
these two guys
Right?
look like they just walked out of a Diddy party. What's going on there?
Like I was goofing around to get the guy to let me take a picture. So I actually pointed his hat. I go, Trendelargua. He goes, no comprende, right? And then I go, hey, come on, can I get a picture? I was goofing. That's why I'm laughing like that. And then he goes, no comprende. And then the guy to the left said, I could understand photo in Spanish, whatever the hell he said. I go, come on. So the baseball hat he originally had, it was way up high. And then he agreed to, and he pulled it down like that over his eyes. And then I gave the Chicago cop another one that was sitting there while his boss was talking to Dana. I said, can you take this for me? So I got that picture. That's their symbol, right? It's not a Chicago symbol. It's a Venezuelan Trendelargua. It's their international. Those are their colors. That represents their gang. 23 represents their gang. And then I didn't notice until like a few days ago. You look at the guy to the left. See what he's got on his shirt? The king crown. That's their other sign. The king. The king. So the tattoos you see on their necks are that represent. So we got 2 gang members standing there to Dana's point, right there in clear sight next to the cops in front of their shelter, showing their colors, and behind them is the 7-Eleven. And so we were told by the police that 7-Eleven black gang members, that was kind of their area. Now these guys are going into that area. Then we went in and talked to the Indian guy. Who would have thought, running the 7-Eleven, right? Jeez. And we said, there's a lot of crime. And so he goes, oh my God, all the time. And, and then he told us that there's lots of crime and conflicts that are starting there. So I thought that was a little bit ironic and kind of funny. There they are in plain sight, showing their colors.
I mean, this guy on the left looks a little...
Is it the one on like Lake and...
No, this is by Standard Club. This is right by the MCC Correctional in Dirksen Federal.
Okay, got it.
I do references off of prisons and federal governments and
Guy on the left
Department of Justice.
looks like he could count a drop box of toothpicks. Did you say that you had a break-in in your neighborhood?
Yeah, my
and
new
that
president
it was
called
Venezuelans?
me. Yeah, she called me last night.
No
got into
kidding.
one guy's house. I think she said he was a doctor. And I'm like, I want to talk to the guy. I told her, I'm like, the reason she called because
Obviously-
she knows what we're doing.
Yeah.
And then we know that our buddy Mendick said that at the Speedway, that the Venezuelans are going. You know this, right? They're going in and, like, say you go inside the gas station and you pay inside to get gas instead of at the pump because they want to buy something or whatever. A woman that speaks broken English goes and asks for $5 for gas. And then the Venezuelans are going through people's cars at the pump while they're being distracted by the woman inside. So that's right here. We're in the suburbs. This is not just the Chicago problem. As a matter of fact, the people in the suburbs, these liberal weasels and these soft Republicans, they call them marks. You call them in jail. Hey, he's a mark. They're easy marks. They're easy targets, easier than the inner city. And, oh, by the way, they got more money. So it's going to be more and more prevalent here. Just like at Oak Brook Mall, they're arresting them all the time, shoplifting.
Well, there's plenty of homeless people in our town, in Downers Grove, so I'm sure there'll be plenty of illegals or whatever, however you want to classify them, that'll find homes in the suburbs because the suburbs are starting to look a lot like the blue city of Chicago in certain areas.
So, Jay, should we go to the our event coming up? So we could talk about that. So for those of you who are watching, right, on October 17th, we have a really cool event. It's called the Lincoln Trump Dinner. And it was just a coincidence. It's the same night as the Downers Grove Township Republican Organization is having their Rhino Reagan dinner. And it just happens to be down the block from theirs, and it just happens to be in the same location where they have their monthly meetings. So what a coincidence. Who would have thought,
How
right?
dare they?
So we're having our
Reagan
dinner,
like that.
and it's grassroots. It's grassroots dinner. We're having two incredible speakers that are Republicans, by the way, instead of having a Democrat like the other place. And
That's true, though.
we have Chris Adamo. He wrote the book Rules for Defeating Radicals, right? So Saul Alinsky wrote Rules for Radicals, right? So Saul Alinsky is from the heart of Chicago. You got Obama, you got Hillary Clinton, you got what's that guy, the terrorist guy, the underground. Come on.
Oh yeah, Bill Ayers.
Yeah, Bill Ayers.
Yeah. Well, that's their model. Yeah. Well, it's communist. It's communist revolution.
Go ahead, explain
thing.
and then explain the Chris.
Yeah.
things.
The Saul Alinsky model is organize, and chaos. So Antifa,
your Piven thing, and
Antifa,
crush. What about your Piven thing? Collapse.
The Cloward Piven strategy is basically collapse the social structure by increasing the welfare
That's
state.
answering your own question. You asked her.
Yeah, increase.
Right?
Yeah, well, I
Yeah,
agree.
it
Yes, it's collapsing the social structure by increasing the welfare state, thereby creating a police state because you've grown the government so big, and then that's the way to create the communist revolution to take over the government. Then of course Saul Alinsky is part of that because his thing was organize. That's and then cause chaos. Protest. Intimidation,
confrontational.
Antifa.
Who's using those tactics against the rhinos?
You remember
and the left?
There's a montage clip during Trump administration of all these Democrats saying, "You need to go out on the street and you need to get in their faces when they're at the gas pump." That's that crazy Maxwell and Pelosi saying it and Hillary saying it. All of them are, and Schumer's threatening Supreme Court justices. I mean, this is the thing. Like, they use rhetoric to get people all, worked up. And I mean, this is like the assassins. They're saying, well, of course, when you're calling somebody Hitler,
They're still doing it.
They're still doing it.
Well,
it's crazy.
Except Jack Novak. I mean, that's okay.
But
nobody said that. We said dictator.
That's like the Democrats want to suggest that the Republicans have gone radical because of Trump and he's a dictator. It's like, what do you expect? What do you expect people to do, to think, to say when you have the politicians and the media constantly suggesting that somebody is an existential threat to civilization, which there's no evidence for. Yeah. Absolutely
no, it's
zero.
the other way around.
It's the other way around.
And what's ironic is that the left, the Democrats, right? Except for the elitists, the academic elitists, and now all these business folks. The Democratic Party is for the undereducated and underinformed. They're stupid. I mean, they are
Definitely underinformed.
Yeah,
I mean,
and undereducated.
I've talked to
Except for the elitists,
but
the
there's
top tier.
there's an intellectualization there, which is like, the rhetoric is so the rhetoric from Trump is just so brash, and I mean but like if you talk to them about policy, I mean the other side just wants to grow government and take away your freedoms. They want to protect the bureaucracy, right? Like I went to this talk about Project 2025 at the library the other day, and they're saying that it suggests that the Republicans want a theocracy. I read it. That's insane. And this lady is talking about how, well, Trump wants to be a dictator and he wants to cut all this government because I'm just worried that we're getting rid of the experts. Okay, well, lady, the experts brought us the COVID measures, which were all debunked in real time. I mean, the mask mandates, the lockdowns. These are all things that like people found CDC or FDA papers from years beforehand that said that stuff doesn't work, and then they do it in 2020 and just have the media parrot that Dr. Fauci says 2 masks, so you should wear it. I mean. My point was like the institutions in America can't be trusted, and there's like 80 years of evidence of them lying to us, spying on us, violating our civil rights. And yet these Democrats, to your point, who fancy themselves intellectuals, will suggest that, well, we need institutions. We need to have institutions. We can't have a society without institutions. But the problem is you can't trust the institutions because they're not honest. They're corrupt. They're captured by industry.
I was forced to go to an institution a few times. It's awful inside institutions.
That's another one, man. That's a freaking business. The prison system is a business.
Yes.
What do you think? Biden was one of the ones behind the crime bill. Biden was behind the crime bill. You know how many people they put in prisons in the 90s for weed, misdemeanor weed charges? Some of them still behind bars.
There was guys in federal prison got caught with 5 grams of crack, right? 5 grams of crack, and they get 5 years in federal prison. You got to do 85%. Well, they're mostly black guys, and it was really messed up.
That's an even hand of justice. What about the? I mean, and then you look at somebody like O.J. Simpson, and I'll say him because he was black, and I'm pointing to the fact that it isn't necessarily a race thing, it's a class thing. He got off for obvious murder, but why? Because he could afford the most expensive lawyers in L.A.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you go down the line, and of course, there's plenty of white people or any other ethnicity that are rich that can afford lawyers that the lower classes can't afford and get away with obvious crimes. So our event on October 17th. Sorry, we really need people to show up. It's going to be a great event. Oh, we got a great lineup.
Yeah, it's a great event. So we have Chris Adamo,
Tana,
then Tana Goretz, and she was
advisor
on The Apprentice.
to President Trump.
Yeah. So first she took second in Apprentice. She didn't win, but she became like a big figure. Got lots of attention nationally, and Trump loved her.
She was his special liaison in Iowa because she's from Iowa. And
so she's gonna, both her and Chris is gonna talk about. Obviously, he's got 10 rules for defeating radicals, and he's gonna talk about that in his book. And they're being used against us, right? So we're in Illinois. We're like this stuff was founded here. Unfortunately, we have soft, weak leaders that aren't competent enough or capable enough to fight it back against this aggressive tactics. That's first and foremost. Then secondly, Chris says this, and many of us on the grassroots side, and he's going to explain why the establishment rhinos, I know my friends that I do like, even though I don't agree with them on the establishment side, why they're more dangerous to us, right? And I mean, to me, it's pretty simple. We want to fight and defeat the radical leftists, the Marxists, the Obamas, and all that stuff, right? But until we go to battle, right? Just like any army, you got to have a healthy army that's effective, right? You can't go to war and have somebody that's within your midst that's working with the enemy. And I'm not saying you're working with the enemy. They have a different motive than us, right? The uniparty, all this other things, and they're so, or they're just too stupid. Now, I'm not saying they're all evil. They're too stupid. Oh, we need to win the Democratic vote. Oh, we got to get. Oh, yeah, we love you Republicans, but you know what? I'm pro-abortion. All the time, anytime I'm pro-abortion because the Democrats are going to vote for me. So I'm a pro-abortion. Oh, I don't like guns either. Guns kill. Oh, the Democrats are going to vote for me. You're losing the Republican vote. People think that we're a joke, right? They don't want to. We're talking about the different channels of voting. Right? There's debates, do it the day of, mail, all this other stuff, right? There's debates on what's the best way. I don't know what the best way is, but I do know it doesn't matter. I guess it does matter, so stand corrected when these, establishment guys weasel complain. What does matter is that as many people on the Republican Party come out and vote for our people, right? Don't sit on the couch. Don't bother to do a mail-in. Don't go the day of because they feel it's a waste of their time. We might have said, let's vote for Senator John Curran again. He's a Republican. A bad Republican's better than a good Democrat. Not when you got the guy taking money from corrupt labor unions and then voting with them on Amendment 1. For those of you who don't know, it's the worst union bill in the United States of America. And then he takes money from the teachers union. And then he won't defend my kid and his kid and say porn doesn't belong in our schools because the unions are telling me not to. We don't need those people. They need to be kicked out on their ass and replaced with good, strong conservatives that represent us, right? So that's my disagreement with those guys. And then there's lots of crying going on right now, telling people not to show up because of these establishment scumbags, right? And they're saying, don't show up, don't support them. Well, you know what? You make a decision. Do you want to support guys like John Curran, Novak, and Bubba Bolts? That's up to you. We need to take back the conservative party and have people that are willing to fight and say, porn doesn't belong in my daughter's school. Oh, gang members don't belong in the state of Illinois. They don't belong in America. They don't belong in Chicago. They don't belong taking money from me and buying them food and clothing and gym shoes and cars. And then, oh, by the way, if they commit a crime, they get out of jail free card. That's ridiculous and absurd. It's suicidal. So we need you guys to come up, to have a good event with us, a great event. We're going to have fun. And, oh, by the way, it's going to be it's in there. Yeah. Can you hear me?
No, I can't hear you through the.
It's going to be a fun event, and we need to stand strong and show that we're fed up with a lot of things that are going on. So go ahead, Paul.
Well, speaking of that, Terry, and you brought up elections, and everybody needs to vote no on the 3 ballot measures that are going to be on the ballot in Illinois. One of them has to do this. This just goes to show like there's more election corruption in Illinois. One of them is should any candidate appearing on the Illinois ballot for federal, state, or local office be subject to civil penalties if the candidate interferes or attempts to interfere with an election worker's official duties? Well, what the hell does that mean, Terry?
That's them.
If they ask,
actually, they're going to say
if a candidate asks to, for an audit, if a candidate asks for, anything, like if the candidate should have the right to audit their election or so, what does that even mean? So I would say no, they shouldn't be subject to penalties. The other one is, should the Illinois Constitution be amended to create an additional 3% tax on income greater than $1 million? So that's a lot, 3%. I mean, I believe we're the highest taxed state taxes in the union or up there. So they want to increase taxes more, and go figure, Terry, why. I'm sure it has a little something to do with them having to support a lot of illegal immigrants in Chicago and pay for their housing. And then this one is pretty important because the way these things are worded are so confusing, and they sound a certain way, but then they're they're an open door for all kinds of other things that you didn't think were in it. So this one says, should all medically appropriate assisted reproductive treatments, including but not limited to in vitro fertilization, be covered by any health insurance plan in Illinois that provides coverage for pregnancy benefits without limitation on the number of treatments? So the key there is reproductive treatments, including but not limited to, that language, because they say including but not limited to in vitro fertilization, and they leave out all the other types of treatments, which of course would be abortion or, stuff like that. So they want to just basically they want to increase your health premiums in Illinois.
So I had 2 bouts of prostate cancer. I want free Viagra and penile implants. That's a joke. All right, I know.
You gonna spread the seed a little more?
It's true, but it's a joke. I'm not being serious today.
Not too
I've been married for 20 years. Who
Instead
needs a
of
penis?
cash donations, Terry's going to be taking little blue pill donations.
Yeah. And God, I was going to say.
So anyway, vote no to all 3 of those things. I mean,
Don Kraus.
Don,
did you guys? So Don, and I think it went out in our email. Our buddy Don Kraus from Lisle Township, right? Is he from Lisle Township?
Yeah.
And so they need poll watchers and judges. And guess what he told me? Especially in the DGTRO, they need a lot of them. And what happened to the fucking... Sorry, I swear. Sorry.
When you mentioned Don, it was the one who asked
I
you to
did
clean
Don.
up your
I did it in the
language.
same sentence as your name, and he's one of my religious buddies that tries to coach me on not swearing. I'm so sorry. So the DGTRO is supposed to take care of this. They're supposed to take care of it. So we're going to try to help you do your job, Mendick, Bolts, Novak, No Dick, whatever his name is, and then Curran. So you guys, if anyone's willing to help, we should have put up. Don has an email address to reach out to him, so we're going to try to mitigate the cheating. I think that's important, but at the same time, if people from our side don't come out and vote, who gives a shit? I mean,
I'm not. We live in Illinois. We don't have a Republican Party to speak of in Illinois. They don't even oppose anything. So I wouldn't color myself optimistic about this upcoming election. Sure. Maybe in April with the municipals, when things turn around with Trump in office and so forth, but not for November in Illinois.
Yeah. So we are right at 8:00 on the button, man. We did a show in an hour. So Mike Lauber, if you are watching this, I don't know if you're watching this, he said if we go on General Flynn's Patriot TV, he goes, we have to do 57 minutes. So we're getting closer, right?
57.
Right,
okay.
Jason?
Yeah,
We're getting
more.
So
It's usually an hour and a half,
Yeah.
2 hours.
So thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you very much, Dana, for you spending your time, and honored to have you on the show, and honored to be in your story as the only white guy.
October 17th, Lincoln Trump dinner.
I felt like I was back in prison in that story.
Vote no.
Yeah.
Vote no.